There he is, the OG.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother?
Good, how you doing,
man? Thank you for being here, man. Yes, sir.
Oh, I couldn't tackle you. I couldn't tackle you, man.
No, what's up, boss?
What's up, how you doing? What's happening? How you doing?
All right.
Where am I sitting at?
Still bigger than you,
right,
man.
right.
Still bigger than you, Freddie.
Yeah, he is, right?
Hold up, limitless. Dickinson Mccaffrey in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up. Knowing me, I got the key. On the vision I can trust. Trust. Limitless. Dickinson Mccaffrey in it. I fought the head to witness it. Got my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling got me up. On the mission got me up.
Eric Dickerson, you need no introduction. Welcome to the Pivot.
Thanks. I
The most
appreciate it.
iconic back ever in the history of the game.
I don't know about that, you know. So,
I mean, you were the only one that had, you had the goggles.
I had the goggles.
You had the neck roll.
and the Jerry.
And the Jerry curls. The Jerry curls. Come on, man.
Girl, yeah. You know, it's this stuff I wore. I mean, it just, you know, it wasn't nothing that I was trying to be cool or different. You know, I got to say the neck roll was kind of a touch that I got to say, I took it from my boy Craig James when we were in college.
Right.
And he had a neck roll. I'm like, I kind of like that neck roll. I never had one in high school. So I kind of took the neck roll and I, you know, kind of did my own twist, stretched it out and just made it look cool, like Superman. So that's kind of what the neck roll.
Serious question, though, because I get sweat in my eyes when I ain't have no hair.
With the Jerry curl dripping.
Yeah, the activator and the oil sheen. Like,
Never. I'm gonna tell you the problem with because I wore goggles.
Right.
Man, they fogged up all this. I hated them things. But people thought, I wore them just to be cool, but I hated them. I was always I always had a towel. I was walking to the line of scrimmage doing this, wiping them off. You know, it helped when guys are trying to poke you in the eyes because I got a lot of that, especially back in those days. You know, it was really dirty football, but it was football. But those goggles were just part of the deal. But the Jerry curl, it was what the Jerry curl was. You thought you had an S curl or something like that?
yeah, you definitely had the S curl.
You had an S curl, Freddie?
Everybody had it.
Thank you.
Everybody dipped and dabbed with the little
I ain't
S
gonna lie.
curl juice.
You know what I did? I
Everybody.
did a perm.
Oh.
I did a perm. I did. I had the top, had the curly top. I thought I had good hair like LB Shore.
I tell you, them goggles wasn't sweet.
Man.
I see you got glasses on now, like you have a visually impaired, but them goggles wasn't sweet, bro.
I know the goggles didn't look good, and I didn't like them. I mean, I didn't like wearing them. I mean, when I first wore glasses, I had to wear my school glasses when I played, you know, in seventh grade and eighth grade. I had to wear my school glasses, and they were the brown, like the round horn ones, kind of ugly, and I'd come on the field with my head down because I hated them glasses. And there weren't no sports glasses back then, and you know, if you broke your glasses, you know, as a kid. And I was blind, it would take months. You might get your glasses back in 3 months. So you had to be careful, but I didn't like the glasses either. So don't think that, you know, I thought they were cool.
So ED, you know what I mean? I skipped the part because I was so excited. This is the Pivot. We need you to subscribe. We need you to like YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Our sponsor is Happy Dad. They would be very grateful, as we are. But you talking about not being able to see, not having vision. None of that showed up in your game, though.
You know, people always say that, you know, guy, he has great vision, you know. For a running back, it's not about the vision. It's about feel. Mm-hmm. It's just like a defensive back or receiver. It's about what you feel. Like when I'm playing, I could feel a guy coming here. And one thing I did have, I had great peripheral vision. I did a test on me. My peripheral vision was great. I just couldn't see straight ahead. that was the thing. You know, I could feel him. And I would make a cut because I felt him. And like, how'd you see him? I didn't see him. I felt him. You know, and you know, I was on the football field. You know how guys, stuff happens quick. Yeah. I mean, it's instinct. Sometimes you make the wrong decision. Sometimes you make the right decision. I was fortunate sometimes to make the right decisions. And one thing was, I was big. I was 6'3", 225, and I was fast. I mean, I put my speed against anybody when I was younger. I mean, that was a big thing for me. And you know, as you know, as a player, you know, there's no substitute for speed. It's really not. You
teach it.
You can't teach it, especially if you're a football player. And I was a track guy, but I was a football player first.
Well, you mentioned Craig James earlier, and you know, we've seen now with Nick Saban recently coming out and talking about Texas A&M being the number one recruiting class because they paid all of their players through NIL. He also has mentioned Deion Sanders and them getting the number one player and using NILs to pay him. When you think about what happened to SMU with the death penalty to now where the game is moved and schools and teams and universities are using this to get players, What does that make you feel like?
Man, that's a great question. I've been frustrated for years, even when I got out of college, how they treated the players. I mean, black, white, it didn't make a difference because, as a player, you don't look at the skin color. You're a player. We all on the same team. I just felt that players should have always gotten something. You making the university all this money. First thing you'd say, well, you got a scholarship. Okay, we got a scholarship, but we're still making the school billions of dollars. The NCAA billions of dollars is really what it comes down to. And I've always just felt that the players or the kids should share in that because look, man, everybody's not gonna play pro football. Everybody's not gonna be a pro basketball player. And you have other people say, well, you can't, football players, y'all get this and basketball and baseball and the girls sports. I said, well, let me ask you a question. When's the last time you see 100,000 people come out to a swim match?
Yeah.
You don't see that. When's the last time you saw 100,000 people come to a baseball game? You don't see that. They come to football. They tailgate football. So I just think it's great because I think the players deserve it. It gives them something. If they don't make it, it gives them something to have a start, a kickoff, some kind of money to have. Because look, I just say for me being black, we didn't have anything. I mean, we didn't have any money. We were poor. I mean, the little bit of money that I got, I was sending my mom. I mean, and I think a lot of guys, I was raised by my great aunt, a lot of guys feel the same way. I'm just trying to help, and in a sense, they vilify the young player, the young kid. We're kids. If it was a 15-year-old right now, 16-year-old, high school kid, and I say, look, son, I'm gonna give you $500 just for playing a good game. You think he's gonna say, oh no, I can't take it. He's gonna say, what?
Right.
$500?
Yeah.
Yeah, be happy to take it. And that's what it was like back in those days.
I won't speak for anybody else, but I got all the $1,000 handshakes when I went on recruiting visits. So I ain't gonna call out each school. I went to Florida, but every school I went to, I get the handshake, with the rack in it. You know what I'm saying? My mom got an Explorer. I don't know who gave it to her. Like,
There you go.
you know what I'm saying? Let's
I know
be
what
honest.
you're saying.
But ED, you kept the G code so long.
Yeah.
Because every time people ask you about the Pony Express and the death penalty, you continue to keep the G code. I don't want you to tell on nobody, but I want to ask you, why do you feel like you got to stay in the G code where the world knows that ED got some bread from somebody?
I'll say this much here. One thing is I'm big on loyalty. I'm big on loyalty. I mean, if I'm your guy, you my guy, these my guys. I'm big on that. It's our code. We keep this between us. And if you go back and look at guys at SMU, the guys that played with me, we didn't talk. I mean, we were happy for other guys. They got a car, man. Let me see your car, man. Let me check it out. It wasn't no envy. I mean, that was the big thing. I think, as time went by, you think about it, and I just say, what's the sense in telling? I just did a book, so I told some of the stuff. I'll tell you how I got the Trans Am. And
the Trans AM.
The Trans A&M. I saw, like I said, I'll make the story short. I saw the car, maybe in my junior year, I did the Trans Am, but I saw it in my senior year too. I had to go by a place called Leo Jonigan. I drive by there every day going to Houston. I go to Houston to see my grandmother. And so I'm like, well, I like that car. And I, being a good football player, I told my mom, and some kind of way it got back to my grandmother. I liked the car. And it was a big A&M boost in Sealy, a big one. And one day she said, let's go, we're gonna ride to Houston, we're gonna look at that car. I'm like, what car? That Trans Am? I'm like, okay. So I go down and look at the car. 2 white men now. They came out and said, the car's yours.
Gave you the keys.
Take the keys. I said, Mama, she said, don't even worry about that. You ain't never got to worry about it. Fast forward, when the NCAA came, they told me you got to talk to my mother, and she said, you got to talk to his grandmother. My grandmother and my mother were 2 different people. They thought my mother was my grandmother because she was older, I was adopted. My grandmother was actually in Houston. So now, she talked to them, blah, blah, blah. They finally let the investigation go because my grandmother told them, if I see you again, told the NCAA guy, if I ever see you again, I'm gonna sue you personally and the NCAA. Never saw him again after that. So after I retired, I said, Mama, how did that Trans Am come about? I finally asked, she said, well, you didn't need to know, but I'll tell you now. She said that your grandmother paid for that car. Because my grandparents, they could afford it. Mm-hmm. She said, your grandmother, they paid for that car. They paid $14,500 for that car. Wrote them a check for it. She said, Texas A&M, I just said Texas A&M, gave them the money back in cash. Boom, car, no trail. No, what A&M gonna say? I paid for that car. We paid for that car. He paid for that. Right. No, they couldn't tell. I mean, I didn't know. I'm just a kid, and I just feel like, hey, That's how it was. You know, you guys, everybody got recruited in here. And yeah, I got some of the handshakes too, the $500 handshakes. But it wasn't nothing that was life-changing. Let's put it like that.
Yeah.
Never wasn't money that was going to change my life. I didn't get land, you know, on down on the coast or nothing like that. We got a few $100s, a few $1,000s, and that comes out to and a car.
Do you hate that your legacy of what we said, bro? Because like I always joking walking in, I would not want to hit your big ass every play. Bro, you was a dog. Do you hate that your legacy is attached to that Pony Express stuff? Like whenever somebody talks about Eric Dickerson, they always go back to that. Do you dislike it? Do you embrace it?
You know, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. You know, I think the thing that bothers me the most is that they give the death penalty to me in my class. I was in the pros for 5 years and they got the death penalty. Nothing to do with the death penalty. That's the part that bothers me. The car, I think it's funny. I think it's great. The Trans Am, it's gonna live forever. You saw, you know, like the poster that SMU used for the recruiting for the NILs. You know, they got the Trans Am right in the front. You know, that's part of our history. I mean, I think every school has history, no matter good, bad, or indifferent. But man, I love my university. I'm glad I went there. That's the school that my grandmother chose. My mom chose for me. I didn't choose it, but at the end of the day, man, I'm glad I went to SMU.
So as big as you were, you know, even leaving there second pick, the things you did as a rookie of the year, you know, so forth and so on going forward, were there any resentment by the fans? Because they got the worst of the worst that you can get.
You mean that?
Could you go back to SMU and be looked upon as?
Yeah, no problem going back. You know, the people that were there, they knew it wouldn't have nothing to do with us. Because look, in those years, we were dominant. If you want to say the best team money could buy, we were that team. Everybody wanted to be a Mustang. Everybody wanted to have that horse on their head because we had the cool uniforms. We were right in Dallas, Texas. I mean, we had the coach that was, you know, fly coach.
Right.
I mean, beautiful girls, great campus. We had it all.
Right.
I mean, it's like the show Dallas was hot back in the day, you know, Dallas. So everybody wanted to go to SMU. I met so many guys say, man, Eric, man, I committed to SMU, man. They got the death penalty, man. I couldn't go. I went there and had no football. So no, I just think that was that era, and I think that era was great football.
You know, when you get to the league and now you see the type of talent that they have, and you mentioned the feel that you have for the game, and you start to dominate in the way that you do. When you were playing the game, were you focused on, or was being an all-time great something that mattered to you? Would you work on every day saying, because I say this all the time, and you know, I was talking the other day and I said, look, you can do anything you put your mind to within your skill set.
That's true.
Not anything in the world, because some of us aren't capable.
Right.
But every day you woke up, you had the ability to be the best to ever do it from your position. Were you approaching football in that way?
Most definitely. Great question. Most definitely. My dad taught me that. He had a saying to me. He said, son, all that you do with your might, things done by halves are never done right. I always want to be the best. I mean, always. You know, you got to understand, coming from a small town in Texas, a little town, 2,000 people, I heard all the time, man, Eric can't, you know, he ain't that good. You know, he ain't this, he ain't that. I mean, think about how many times I heard that. You know, he can't play no college football. He hang around here, but he can't play college. And I went to college. My first year, I struggled. See, them the big boys. You can't play with the college boys. It got a little better my next year. My junior year, really, really good. But my senior year, I was like, and I say this, you know, humbly, but I feel like a man playing with boys. My talent, second to nobody's. And that was a God-given talent. It really was. I mean, it was time. A linebacker run up to me. I'm big as he is. You know, defensive end. I'm big as he is. Yeah. I mean, I'm big. You know, he can't catch me. I can run over him. I can run around him. So most definitely, I always wanted to be the best. When I got to the pros, I had that same mentality. I mean, I didn't know how I was going to transcend. I won't forget, me and my best friend talked when I got drafted. He said, "So, what you think would be a good rookie?" I said, "Well, man." Because he looked at Marcus's stats. I won't forget to look at Marcus Allen's stats. I think Marcus had like 1,100 yards or something like that, like 8, 9 touchdowns. And he said, "Well, man, you better than Marcus." He said, "So you should have maybe like 1,300 yards, maybe 10 touchdowns."
Right.
I said, that's a good goal. I mean, that was a goal. But I had 1,800 yards and 20 touchdowns. And after that year, I mean, I worked hard. I mean, and anybody who knows me and knew that worked out with me, I worked hard at it. I had the gift, but I worked at the gift. You know, and I tell any kid that, you know, if God's gonna give you something, it depends on what you do with it. And for me, man, I always wanted to be the best player, you know, and, you know, in some phases I was, some phases I wasn't, but, you know, I always gave 100%.
We had Marshawn on, Marshawn Lynch. So I got to do it to Freddie again. Freddie, ED sweeter than you.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got to pay homage at some point, right? You got to, when they say game, recognize game, and there are a lot of backs that come before me that I respect, even some guys that played in my era that I respect. I'm talking about, the LaDainian, guys that play now.
Yeah.
I love Saquon's game, certainly when he's healthy. Christian McCaffrey, a lot of Alvin Kamara. So I always make sure I check out other guys' game. I can see some backs that are in a system, and they're a product, they're a benefactor of that system. And I'm looking like, all right, I would love to have 7 in the box every play, Right. But it's not always, it doesn't always work out that way. But ED, he was a dog, man. I remember the high step, the lean back, running upright, when he's in the open.
Yeah.
But in contact, he always lowered his pad, big guy getting down. So I was able to study his game. So certainly, I always tip my hats off to the legend.
Funny vice versa because, I told you this. I think I told you that they had me look at film on you. Mm-hmm. They had me look at film on him and Curtis Enos. And the Rams asked me, they said, Eric, we want you to look at some film on some 2 players. I said, okay. I said, who? They said, Curtis Enos and Fred Taylor. So I said, okay. So they sent me the tape. I looked at him. I said, all right. I knew which one I liked. I just wanted to see what they were going to say. I said, which guy you like? I said, tell me who y'all like. They said, we like Curtis Enos. I said, not the guy. Mm-hmm. He said, no, I'm telling you. I said, no, I'm talking to the scout now. I said, not the guy. I said, I'm telling you. I said, they said, why? He said, tell me, give me your reasons why. I said, well, first of all, I think he's little. I said, and he runs leaning over too much. He's gonna blow his knee out. I said, he doesn't run in control. I said, football, you gotta run in control. And they talked about it and said, well, look, Fred Taylor, he gets hurt too much. I said, that's college. I said, but I like the way he runs. I said, he's the guy. They said, we didn't draft either one of y'all.
Right.
But then as time went on, and they said, Eric, you were right. I said, I told you. Yeah. I mean, I said, I knew it. Same thing when we got Marshall Faulk because I helped to facilitate that trade with the Rams to get Faulk. He was in Indianapolis. And I went to our general manager and I told him, look, I said, I talked to Faulk and his agent. I said, he wants to get out of Indianapolis. I said, we have a chance to get him. And the general manager, well, he's always, but why, Eric, why? And I told him why. I said, this guy will make a big difference on our football team. I said, because we don't have a name player right now. Can't put nobody in the stands. I said, and I see he's a great player. I say, I think he'll be a great player for us. Fast forward, what we do? Super Bowl. I expect that, but I say, I'm not saying I'm no guru, but I know my position, And when I saw the way Fred ran, I said, man, he's gonna be great in the pros. I mean, I just knew it, and you didn't let me down.
No, I appreciate it.
I was just talking about you the day before yesterday.
Yeah, I appreciate
telling this story.
It's the same conversation with Marcus, but again, that's where for me, when they talk about Hall of Fame, this and that, my peers and the guys that have done it before me, that's what matters the most to me, But aside from that, going back to your draft class in '83, going number 2 behind John Elway. You guys had Dan Marino, Kurt Warner, a few other guys that are legends in the game. Did that motivate you, knowing that you were in that draft class with those guys, to be the best to get Rookie of the Year?
Not really. Man, we just a bunch of kids. Just a bunch of young kids. It wasn't the media like they have today. We knew certain guys. Like I played against Marino in the Cotton Bowl. I heard about John Elway, Roger Craig. I was friends with Roger. Met Roger going to the Hula Bowl. Him and Jamie Williams. So. Not really. I mean, I just wanted to play well. I wanted to do well for my football team. And the thing I knew about with the Rams is that they had a good offensive line. And I had no injuries when I came out of college. I never carried the ball full time since high school, being that guy. So it gave me an opportunity to show how good I was. Because I always knew, I said, if they'd have really pushed me for the Heisman, I don't want the Heisman. I mean, I always said that I was the best player in the country that year. I mean, I'm not bragging, but I had 1,679 yards, so like 203 carries, 7 yards a carry, 17 touchdowns. I mean, I carried the ball half the time. Right. I'd say Herschel had 150 more carries than me and 100 more yards than I did.
Right.
I tell him, that's my Heisman you got, Herschel.
Right. you think about that though, that draft, it was Jim Kelly in that draft, Dan
Marino,
John Elway,
Darryl Green, Roger Craig. I mean, that was a great draft.
Yeah, like when you look back at football and you see all of those great players that played in a different time, especially offensively. Right, offensively, the rules weren't the same. You clothesline, you catch cats, you could blindside them, and do those different things, and you watch players now, how do you think an Eric Dickerson would translate into today's football game?
Oh my gosh. I'd kill these, man. I'd kill it. Man, first of all, just give me an offensive line. Just give me a piece of quarterback. Just a piece. I ain't never really had just give me a guy that can just get it downfield.
Yeah.
And I ain't got to see them 8 and 9 man fronts every time. You know what I'm talking about. Man, you watch the line of scrimmage, man, and you see the safety right there. You're like, damn. I mean, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
I mean, I would kill it. I know I would. I mean, people ask me that. I mean, with the talent I had, like I said, and I say it again, not bragging, but God gave me a talent second to nobody's talent. So I think I'd do well.
But you ain't gonna get all them damn carries now. Because that old school
okay.
be honest, that old school ass
Derrick Henry.
That's what I was gonna say.
Derrick Henry.
That's what I was gonna say.
And who else? Name the next one.
You don't have to have another.
Name the next one.
You don't have to have
Chan.
another.
Jonathan Taylor, Indianapolis.
He ain't toting it like that. That's why they went out and traded. Who they went out and traded for Wentz? Wentz sorry ass or somebody
We'll
else.
trade him away.
Can you load up right now, run the ball 40 times a game? You speak of Tennessee. Tennessee has no Super Bowl rings because of the fact that style of football cannot win this day and age when you got the Patrick Mahomes throwing 50 times a game.
Can't do it with Ryan Tannehill.
Put the Dallas Cowboys in the 90s. They ran the football. They ran the hell out the ball. But they had Michael Irvin. They had Troy Aikman.
Harper on the outside.
They had that big offensive line.
Yeah.
They did it. I mean, if you got a quarterback and you got a running back, man, just happen, and you got a great offensive line, why wouldn't you run it? Let me tell you, I asked LT and Bruce Smith this question. We're talking about running football. I said, let me ask y'all a question, because the reporters I would say, you don't have to have a running back, you don't have to run the football. I said, let me ask you guys, if you played in a football game and they didn't run the ball at all, I'm talking about no runs, no jet sweeps, nothing. Both of them said, no runs? I said, oh, we love that. He said, we kill them. I mean, man, you've got to be able to run the football. The thing is that the backs don't want to do it. They don't have the heart for it. Most of these backs are little guys. 5'11". They say, he's a big back, he's 5'11". 5'11", he's a little bitty man. I call them fat backs. They fat and they got a big, they get stumpy and they about 5'10". I'm like, yeah. Oh, he thick, he 5'10". Who in the hell, he 5'9"? I mean, I'm 6'3". Yeah. I'm as tall as a defensive end, some of the defensive linebackers. Yeah. So when I stood in the backfield, I won't forget, we played the Detroit Lions. My rookie year, I come on the field, and I ran by the DBs. One DB say, damn, that's a running back? That's a defensive end. I had 199 that day.
Hey, he didn't want to hit you from the jump, though. He didn't want to hit you from the jump.
So, I mean, I know the era is different, but I think they made the game different because they want more scoring.
Yep.
They don't want to see a 7-3. They don't want to see a 10-7. They want to see a 45-42. You know, it was 450 yards on this side and 550 on this side of offense. They don't want to see a defensive game, and that's today's football.
No, it's crazy. I say the exact same thing. The $20 hot dog, you can watch the game on the Jumbotron. It's the excitement. That's their business model.
Yeah.
Let the fans come in there and really just enjoy it. But the one biggest thing, I was doing some research on you. But you signed a $2.2 million contract as a rookie coming out, 4-year, $2.2 million.
Brother, it was terrible.
Number 2 pick.
Let me tell you, my contract was bad. I mean, I put it like this, I had a $600,000 signing bonus. My first year's base salary was $150. I was making $150. My signing bonus was a loan. It was supposed to be an unforgivable loan. So when I got traded, I had to give the Rams back my signing bonus. Yeah. So my first year I made $150 when I ran for the 1800. I made $175 when I ran for 2000. I made the third year I think I made $275. Then I held out and got $400, but that wasn't really no money.
With $1,800.
Yeah. No, I've been making no money. And I always go back and I say, John Elway, and I just got to compare. He's the first. He was making $1 million. I'm making $175. That's a big disparity. I mean, but that's how they could do you back.
Yeah, we got to ask. Your agent was bad. The team was bad. Was y'all not aggressive enough? Because number 1 makes $1 million. Number 2 makes $600.
Yeah, but that's how it was, because they really controlled the narrative. Like teams, when your team drafts you back then, you were stuck. I mean, let's just say after you play your 4 years, and say somebody else wants you, and if we're gonna make you an offer, no, you ain't going nowhere till we let you go. That's how it was. You ain't going nowhere. Never. You play 4 years for us, we still got your rights. That's how we still got your right. You can't go nowhere. That was the league back then.
You know what's so crazy? You talk about the league back then, and we talking about players now. Also, the fame, right? The attention you can get, the type of money you can make away from the field, the partying. You got here straight from Dallas to LA, balling, killing, number 2 pick. What your life was like away from the field?
For my first year, it was good. 'Cause really, I was shy. I was really kind of shy. So, I didn't like I would sign autographs. I was kind of shy about it. I mean, I went to my first Laker game. My doctor, he was a Lakers doctor, he asked me to go to the game. And I'm like, sure. And they were like, man, you going to that game to die? He said, he got floor seats. I didn't know what floor seats were. He said, well, I'm like, we going to sit right on the floor? I'm like, okay, because I didn't really watch that much basketball. So when we got to the Forum, we would go right down to the floor. I'm like, wow. And so I remember Magic and Kareem, and everybody came over. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm tripping. I'm like, this Magic, Kareem, and and they came over shaking my hand, and they announced me on the loudspeaker. And I got up, and they gave me a standing ovation. I'm like, oh, this ain't me. This is not me. And I remember at one point, I didn't even want to going out to clubs because, not that they were bombarding me. I was embarrassed behind it. People asked me about, you're playing. I'm like, yeah. And so, I kind of got over that part. But let me tell you, man, LA is a great place to play. It really is. It's a great city, beautiful girls. I kind of got out of that when I went to the basketball game now. Oh, I was into it then. I got into it.
You was wide open.
But the Foreign Club, I didn't want to watch the game. I go sit in the Foreign Club with the girls.
Back then, when you grabbed the bad one, did you leave the goggles on? Because like you said, you couldn't see in front of you. So did you leave the goggles on so you could really appreciate it?
Here's the peripheral from the side.
Or you went sideways so you could see that thing.
Let's just say, man, it was good to be in LA. I'm serious. I mean, I love playing for the Rams, even though they wasn't paying me right. We had a great team of guys. Being in the city, even though we weren't in LA, we were in Orange County, but I was always in LA. I was just always come to the city. And the funny thing about being out in Orange County, which was we call it the Orange Curtain. It was mostly all white, but a few of the brothers would come out and watch the games. They would all say, "Man, you need to be a Raider." We look at you as one of us. The Rams out in Orange County. I'm like, hey man, that's the team I play for. And the thing is that they said, man, we love watching you play though, because I won't forget one time I'm in a bar. And Fridays in the marina, and then I taking a leak. 2 guys come in. The guy say, "Man, you see the Rams today, man?" I heard him talking, man. Yeah, you see Eric? Yeah, man, he was killing them, man. And I'm listening. The guy said, "Man, I think that's it." Man, that ain't no Eric Dickerson, man. I heard him say, he said, "Man, tell me you're Eric Dickerson." I said, I am Eric. He said, "Man, what the hell you doing here?" He said, "Ain't you tired after that game? You drove all from Orange County." I said, "Yeah, I came to see what y'all see, all these women up here." He said, "You got that right." So, man, I love that.
You like that look? You my spirit animal. Yeah, boy.
It's crazy though that in LA, Hollywood, the whole thing, right? For you to maintain your focus, those early years of your career and the numbers that you put up, 1,800, 2,100, 1,200, 1,800 again. How were you able to maintain that?
Like I told you, man, I always wanted to be the best. That was a burning desire for me. I mean, I won't forget, it was an event that I held out. I think the year I had the 1,300, I think it was my 3rd year, I held out.
Yeah.
And I went to an event, and Marcus Allen won the rushing title that year. Mm-hmm. And I got some of what I had, because I had the record in the playoff game, 245 in the playoff game. And one of the guys introduced Marcus. Marcus wasn't that accepted for Marcus, and he said, yeah, we won the rushing title, blah blah blah, I didn't say nothing. So when I got to get my award, I said, well, I want to congratulate Marcus. I know he's not here, Marcus. I say, but only reason he got that title because I held out. I said, we'll see what happened next year. And I ran for 1,800 that next year.
Right.
So, it was. I could say it was easy because football was. You guys know when you love it, you love. I loved everything about it. I can remember the smell of the grass when football season. It's football season. I couldn't wait. To get out in the field and to do my thing. I mean, I just loved everything about it. And the sad part about it is that at one point, later in your career, you're playing on bad teams and bad organizations. They make you hate it. They make you hate a sport that you loved. And I mean, when I say loved it, I loved it. I think you hate a sport you love so much. That's the sad part about football.
And the good and the bad of football, we all know. I told a story about Tony Gonzalez and Antonio Gates playing them boys. I go tell my coach, do not make me cover him. He's gonna catch the ball. So big as you are, you know what I'm saying, for the football people, we talking ball. You said them deep, when you walk on the field, the DBs will be like, damn, that's a running back. But is there any of them names in your mind that they wrecked that chest?
Oh, hell
They hit
yeah.
their sternum? Like, give us some names that caught that sternum a couple
hell
times.
Yeah, come on. We played the Bears in the playoff game, Mike Singletary got me really good. I won't forget it. It was an ISO player. After Millen, the H-back came and supposed to pick him up. And Richard Dent told me this a couple of years later. He said, we knew what the play was going to be. He said, Eric, we had 10 men. He said, we knew y'all couldn't throw the ball. Yeah. We couldn't. Our quarterback threw for 50 yards. he threw for 60 the week before and 50 in that game.
Oh, legit?
Yeah, for real. He said, oh, no. This ain't no joke. When I said earlier, I want a piece of quarterback, just give me a guy to get it down. Something. So he threw for 50 yards. He said, Eric, we knew, he said 29 ain't gonna beat us. So Mike Gooman came in motion. And when they hurt Richard Dent caved it in, so knocked him off track. Mike Singletary had a free run. I saw him, but I'm thinking Mike gonna still get him. And I'm running, we went, bam! And we stuck just like this here. And man, all of a sudden they bent me back and then all the black waves, I ain't gonna lie. So I get up, go to the sideline. I'm like, shit, that hurt. Go there, sit down. They came over. I knew something was wrong. And they said, so, you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. I said, where you at? Chicago. I said, what's your name? Eric Dickerson. What's your date of birth? I don't know how many. I said, I have no idea. And I didn't know what date I was born. I have no clue what my birthday was. That's just how it was. Yeah. But yeah, he got me really good. Ronnie Lott got me good, got me in my ribs. But I wore a flak jacket. But in that same game, I ran over him. So yeah. And I ran over Mike later. It's just they get you, you get them. That's just football. You ain't gonna win all the time. That's like this ain't the movies. Like the good guy, like Bruce Lee, he kicking everybody. We kicking everybody. Don't work like that, dog. You get got sometimes. So yeah, I've gotten got.
Second best running back in Rams history.
Marshall Faulk, and my big boy,
Gurley.
Ooh, God, I forgot about Todd.
Oh, you talking about Steven?
Steve.
You talking about Steven? I play Steven.
You know I say Steven? Because, Todd is great. that's my guy, too.
Right.
I said, them 1, 2, 3. But I say Steven because Steven had nothing. Mm-hmm. He had nothing, man. I'm serious. And when you play that position, you know what it's like. You ain't got no help. Mm-hmm. He had no help. Right. That's why. I like him. I like him as number 2.
Number 3. After Marshall.
I don't even put I don't even like put myself in them categories.
But that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
That goes without question.
Yeah, because in my era, maybe before my era, my favorite back of all time was OJ, because that's why I wanted to play running back. He was big, he was tall, he was fast. People say Jim Brown. I love Jim. Mm-hmm. I didn't see Jim play. Right. I saw a little bit of Gale Sayers, like I said, a little bit, mostly highlights. It's always guys you saw play. That's what it comes down to. But Rams, I would have to say, as I said, Falk, Steven Jackson, and then my guy Todd.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping Steve retired because he's directly behind me on the all-time rushing list. Yeah, maybe like 100 yards. I was like, retire, man. You gotta retire. Don't give him no carries. I think he ended up going to New England at the time. I was like, I know one thing. He ain't getting no carries up there, so I'm good. But he was a beast. He was a dog. Mm-hmm.
You talked about the guys in L.A., right? The L.A. history that you look at. And I was listening to you earlier, too, speak about watching Freddie T and Curtis Enos, or different times you've consulted with the team. It seems that you have a really good relationship with the organization. And it sounds crazy to me because you talked about your contract. You obviously end up playing for Indy. I think you played for Indy longer.
I played for Rams.
Then you played here. Mm-hmm. Why has that relationship been one of those relationships you've poured into since you've been retired?
Well, I'll say this much. When I left the Rams, man, I was mad. I was hurt. I was really hurt when I left this team, because I really wanted to stay with the team, but it just didn't work out that way. And the guy who traded me out, his name was John Shaw. He told me later, he said, I want to see you someplace where you'd be forgotten. He tried to send me to Indy, that I had no help. Because that was a bad organization. I see why John Elway didn't want to go there. When you get there, I see why you didn't want to come here.
The GM of the Rams told you, I want to send you somewhere that you can be forgotten?
Yeah, he didn't. You know, like I said, it was different, man. John Shaw was a guy. He was all about the numbers. He was all about the numbers, and he was arrogant. He was arrogant. He didn't miss it. He was arrogant, you know. And he sent me because the Redskins wanted me. That's why I wanted to go. My cousin Dexter Manley was there, and he called me. He said, "Eric, man, I heard we trying to get you." I said, "Man, I know." And he said, "Man, they ain't gonna let that happen. That's too much like right. I'd have killed it over there." So anyway, you know, just being with the team, you know. Then when I retired, that's when I retired. John Shaw, the German guy I'm talking about, Jackie Slater called me. He said, "Eric, man," he said, "John Shaw, man, he wants you to call him." I said, "Call him for what?" He said, "He want to talk." I said, "Man, F John Shaw." I said, man, over me, man. I'm not calling him. Yeah. He said, "Eric, man," he said, "I always said, man, he liked Eric." He said, "Eric was a good guy." Because, I mean, I was a team player. I mean, I didn't cause no trouble. I didn't do drugs. I didn't beat no. I wasn't doing nothing but playing football. He said, I said, "If you want me to have him call me?" Sure enough, he called me. He said, and he did his voice, "Hey, Eric." That's how he talked. "It's John Shaw." I'm like, "Really?" He said, how's it going? I said, "Good, John. What's happening, man?" I like to sit and talk to you. I said, "Okay." So we set up a meeting. I went up to his office and sit down and talk with him. And I'll never forget, this is what he said. He said, "Eric, I just want to tell you this. You're the greatest player I ever saw." He said, I screwed up. He said, "You should have always been a Ram." He said, "You will always be a Los Angeles Rams to us. As long as I'm here, whatever you need, you just call me." And so when he told me that, man, as hurt as I was, you know, I let it go. I really let it go. And that's how, you know, I just became, when they were in St. Louis, I would go back to see him play, you know, to see the games and stuff. And John Shaw, he's right. And anything I needed, you know, he would help me do.
Is he still around?
No, he doesn't work with the team anymore. He don't work with the team anymore. But I wish he was.
Yeah, because I want to talk about those Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, I wish he was. That's what I said. I wish he was. I mean, because even he called me about that. But when you ask me that question, I'll tell you. But nah, so that's why. I mean, and look, man, I'll always be a Ram. I mean, I tell you, I love one thing about I'm loyal. I just got that loyalty thing. I mean, even I played for the Colts. They just said I don't feel like a Colt. I don't. I just don't. I don't go back to Indy to none of the games. I just don't. I just feel like this is where I live. This is my team. This is the team I love. I mean, this is the team I wanted to play for when I got drafted. Because you know why? I like I like that horn. I thought it just looked cool, and I thought I looked good in the uniform. And you know, but now when I go on with your question, I
wanted to see because you know from some people's point of view, obviously theirs don't always matter. But some feel like it was an ungrateful, response with the Super Bowl tickets that you received.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this much here. First of all, I'm never ungrateful. That's the one thing. You never gotta be being ungrateful. Right. And I didn't even want to talk about that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know how it works. I know the system. And they did the same thing to me in Atlanta. I didn't say anything. I never said a word. I wasn't saying nothing this time. Right. Matter of fact, the tickets that I got in Atlanta, I gave to a guy who was a big Ram fan. I paid for his hotel and gave him my tickets to that game. Gave him the tickets because he was a huge Ram fan. I didn't even go to one in Atlanta. If they called me the next day and said, "Oh, we got a ticket for you," I'm like, "I'm cool. I just stay at my buddy's house and watch it." Right. Here, the same thing. Look, I didn't want to bring that up. That was not my intentions. Because they kept asking me, I said, I'm not going to the game. My main thing was I want my football team to win. Can't about no football game. But they kept asking me. I said, well, when they asked me, and I'm gonna tell you, think about this, Fred. I'm gonna ask you this here. You played for Jacksonville for all those years. They went to the Super Bowl. Do you think they put you in the rafters? And I'm talking about the rafters. Like the top of the stadium is right there. Right. And I gave my tickets to a girl that worked for me. She called me. She sent a picture. She said, "Eric, these tickets are so high that I can't even stay up here. I've got to come down." She said the players look like little ants.
I think worst case, owner's suite maybe. Because you're a face of the franchise.
It wasn't even that. Look, first of all, I even asked, could I even buy my tickets that I have season? I buy my own tickets. You can't buy because the league takes them over. I was willing to buy my own tickets for to go to the game. But, I ended up going with Shannon, with Shannon.
Again, how we started by saying you're iconic as a running back, but you're also a legendary Rams player. And since they've been back out here in LA since 2017, I mean, you've sort of reemerged, on the scene with everything that they're doing with, helping the rookies and directing them in those Super Bowl runs, 2 in, 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that has to be special for, an old head.
For me, especially for the young players. I mean, I never played in the Super Bowl. And like I say, for me, man, I don't care nothing about that crap. I mean, like I said, I wasn't going to even say anything. The guy kept asking me over. He asked me again, so why you not going? Why you not? So that's why I said it. I mean, and I'm gonna say this much here, and I'll just say the name. We had a guy that plays for the Rams, Jim Everett. He made a comment. He made a comment, and I'm just gonna say it. If you don't want the truth, don't ask me. He, to me, made a kiss ass comment. Like I'm just happy to be in the house, and we players, we know what's up.
Right.
Like the guys who played with me, they called me about it. They said, man, what's that all about? We know what that deal's about.
Right.
I mean, I just keep it 100. Like I said, I love my football team. Everything's never gonna be perfect,
right.
But I love my organization. I love the team, and I'm a player. I'm a player first. Even though I work for the team, I still got the player mentality.
Correct.
Even when I did sport TV with you, I still got the player mentality. I'm always for the players. If the player's doing right now, if you're being lazy, it's different. But I'm always a player.
How did it feel to see them win the Super Bowl here in LA?
The best, man. The best. I told them, I kept telling guys, even faulting them, I said, man, when y'all won that Super Bowl in St. Louis, I said, I know that's great. I said, but man, you win in LA. I said, it's different. It really is. I mean, and look, LA's still a Raider town. Let's be make it plain, it's still a Raider town. But it's gradually going back because the Rams were gone for 21 years. I mean, it was no team here. These little kids that are now 25 and 30, they might have been Ram fans, my grandma, but now they're Raiders. They're 49er fans. I hate them 49ers. 49er fans. They're Cowboy fans. So it's gonna take a while. But to win a Super Bowl in LA and win at your home stadium, it's fantastic.
I think the one thing before we wrap up that I'd like you to share is you were highly successful from the day you became a Ram, and you've now lived your life in a way that's exemplary, where people can look at you and say, I respect him, not because he does everything right, because he does everything as an adult man should do it. And he's okay with whatever comes with that. What would be your advice to young men who got their name called or who got that called and now have an opportunity to represent one of these 32 teams and, namely the Rams?
I mean, that's a good question. Well, first of all, I haven't done everything right, but I tried to. My main thing is I just remember my mother told me when I came to LA, she said, Eric, don't go out there and embarrass yourself and don't come embarrass your name, your dad's name. He had a good name. My father had a really good name. And that's my big thing. I mean, and I'll tell any of these young players, you're gonna only be number 29 or number 82 or 18 for a small amount of time. You're gonna be an older man a lot longer. So make that older man, make that legacy a legacy that you can be proud of. And so that's for me. I want my kids to be proud of me. I want my grandkids to be proud of me. So that's kind of what I live by. And like I say, it's not a perfect life, but it's the life that God gave me, and I'm not making no excuses for it. I'm blessed to have what I have.
Any regrets?
I ain't gonna say regrets. No, only regret, and that's not a regret. Do I wish that I could have stayed with the Rams my whole career? That's it, but I don't regret it. Because you know why? It didn't happen like that, because when I got traded, it changed the pay scale for other players. It changed the pay scale for running backs. It really did, because God told me, he said, man, Eric, he said, you didn't know this, but they had a rule called the Dickinson Rule. No one could make more than Eric Dickerson as a running back, but they brought our salaries up.
Yeah.
And so I didn't even know that, but that's that hidden stuff they don't tell you. Because I was outspoken, man. We wasn't getting paid right. Running backs wasn't getting paid. It just wasn't happening for us. They were paying everybody else, but what about us? Back in those days, we were the workhorses.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. I made more money than you all your years, and I wasn't even worth a damn compared to you. But financially, I was better than you. But I was 20 years younger.
Way better.
And that was the difference.
Yeah.
So, but just the love, and we call him Freddie Flowers. He tries to give it, but the love of the OGs like that, for y'all to fight for that money, is the reason that we could make the money that we made later on.
most definitely, and even guys before us, that didn't get a chance to make the money. Because I think about my friend Deacon Jones. He said, my first contract, he said, I made $7,500. So, back in the day when I played, the minimum wage was $30,000. So guys had multiple, guys sold cars, insurance. So it wasn't like, we didn't have a real off season all the time. Yeah.
So on behalf of the running backs in the game today, I think I'll, salute you and really just say, man, I personally appreciate you. And I'm sure those guys do but just being the standard, setting the bar and giving us something to look up to and goals to chase. But with that, who are your top 5 backs in the game today?
Right now?
Right
five?
now.
That's
Just 5.
tough.
It usually changes, but 5, easy 5.
I'm just gonna go by team. Like you name it.
That's fine.
There's gonna be
That's
some
fine.
big old sons of bitches.
Well,
I know what you
You know Derrick Henry. Big Henry.
Yeah.
That's my number 1.
Okay.
Number 2 would probably be. I still like Zeke, man. I
Zeke
still
is
like
tough.
Zeke. I like Zeke because Zeke is tough.
Yeah.
He runs between the tackles. I like Zeke. Let me think. I like Saquon Barkley, but he's never had a chance. And I said that when he got drafted. I said I hate to see this young talent go to a bad football team. He's probably going to end up getting hurt.
He went early like you, though. He was the second pick of the
Yeah,
draft
second
as well.
second pick of the draft, but a terrible football team. God, give me some more back in
You
there.
got 2 more?
You got Alvin Kamara, Christian
Off the other
McCaffrey,
side, though, because
Jonathan
you hit
Taylor.
the two first.
Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor
emerged. Christian McCaffrey. I like Christian McCaffrey.
But how do you feel about Christian McCaffrey and Kamara, the guys out of the backfield, the receiving backs? Because you saying Derrick Henry number 1, that's downhill, high formation guy. You like those?
I like that, but I like guys come out the backfield too. Let me tell you, see, my first year, I had 51 receptions because we had a kind of a quarterback. I had 51 receptions for, I think, 498 yards. But my quarterback, that was Vince Ferragamo. After that, I never played with a quarterback like him ever again. So I like the young kid, Christian McCaffrey. I like McCaffrey a lot because, he's just been hurt, but man, I call him white chocolate.
Smooth, man.
That white boy can play, man. I call it like I see it. I like him. So I don't know if that was 5 or not.
That's 5.
That's 5, but
Yeah, that's 5.
Yeah.
I say this.
Solid 5.
That's solid 5. I say this, man. I am a football nerd.
I know all about it. I love watching you on TV.
Yeah, I'm a football junkie. So for us to have the opportunity to sit down with one of the best that ever lived on our little show, man, is huge. It's huge for us, and we couldn't be more grateful, that you gave us your time. This is for sure one of the more special pivots, we've done since we got together, man. So thank you so much.
No, thank y'all. I appreciate it.
Appreciate
Thank you for the word. Thank you, brother.
I'd have thumped that chest.
You thumped it?
That was Nick Chant.
You got these knees one time. And them big old shoulder pads Okay.
Appreciate you. Yes, sir, man.
Hold up, limitless. Dickinson Rule pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant. Way I'm feeling, get me up. On the mission, get me up. Knowing me, I got the key. Only vision I can trust. Limitless. Dickinson Rule pinning it. I fought the head to witness it. Get my people feeling militant.